Hello, everybody. This is Dave Wallace coming to you from Wahiawa, Hawaii, and welcome to my talk story time. This is Tuesday, not Monday. Yesterday was Valentine's, so spent the day with my loved one, and I hope you folks had a good Valentine's with your loved ones. Last week, I was sharing an incident in which I had an ancestor come and help me complete a test run for the mile, and I knew I was not in shape to complete it, and I knew I needed divine intervention or family intervention for me to complete my task. And I prayed, and Kupuna answered and came and allowed me to finish and reach my goals. And having ancestors come and assist us is something that's part of my family history. It's happened many times in the past, happening right now, and will happen in the future. That's for sure. In fact, one of the earliest stories I have of family members, deceased family members, coming back to help the living goes back to my great great grandfather, David Kennison. David Kennison owned some ships, and he used to sail cargo back and forth between New Zealand and Samoa in the uh, southern islands. Okay, so he was based out of Pango, and he and his wife and his children lived there. On one of his trips, on his return trip from, I believe it was New Zealand, and coming home to Pango, a great storm appeared, and unexpectedly. And uh, he was being tossed around in his ship for several days. And the storm was so bad, they couldn't navigate using the stars. And so, despite their best efforts, they felt lost and kind of like spinning around in circles. And he prayed for guidance, and this guidance came one day while he was trying to steer the ship. He looked off his bow and he saw something unusual. And after looking and trying to decide what was this thing just off of his bow, and upon better investigation and looking and finally identifying it, he realized it was an entire arm, almost from the shoulder to the hand, a human arm appearing in the darkness and pointing him in a certain direction. So, realizing that this was some kind of divine help, he decided to follow this hand. And it kept on pointing in a certain direction. And as he followed it, he emerged from the storm and he was able to find his way home to Pango. When he arrived back in Pango Harbor, he was greeted by family members who were saddened and mourning. They were crying. So uh, Captain Kennison came off and says, "What's wrong?" The family told him that his wife had passed away a few days before I made it back to Pango. So as my great great grandfather began to piece the story together, he realized that his wife had passed away while he was still out in the ocean and suffering through the roughest and most dangerous part of the storm, where he thought he was lost. And when his wife passed away, her spirit came to him. And this was the arm, this human arm, showing him the direction, pointing him to safety so he could go back home and make it safely to Paul. So this is a story from my great great grandfather, David Kennison. That's one of the men I'm named after. Okay, David. So that is an incident. My brother and I had similar experiences, where ancestors or someone come and wake us up or alert us to danger. In my particular one, occurred when I was working up at a boys' school, and this was a school for real troubled and Koloi boys that was located in Provo, Utah. And I'm not going to name the school, but it was filled with these kids who had severe emotional problems, and was giving the parents really difficult times. And I was a guard there, and not only a guard, but I was a dorm counselor and a watchman slash watchman. My job was to make sure that the kids don't run away. So this was a confined space, and while the kids could go out, they had to earn privileges to go outside and play in the sun. If you didn't earn that privilege, you were confined to a small area. There's a place that they called Devotional, and this was a place that was a 24-hour self-contained unit. They served their meals, everything in there. Boys could shower down there, and their dorms was down there, and their classes were held inside a small little area, probably about 30 by 30 square. I'm just guesstimating. Inside there, you could have anywhere between 12 to 16, sometimes 20 boys that's brought in. And this is where kids, when they first enter the school, they have to spend time. And while they're there, they're learning, actually it's what's called development. And this place is where they learn the rules, and they earn their privilege to move out to the outside dorms. And these kids are angry, they're confused, and very, very spoiled, and they like to have their way. So it's our jobs to teach them and instruct them, and what's appropriate and what's not. So normally there's two guards that works in there at night. After everybody goes to sleep, after the lights out 10, you have a shift change, and there's two people working in there and two people that works outside, and they guarding the facilities, making sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be. So the checks continue on into the night every half hour. So on the weekends, if you're working at the facility, you're required to spend at least 1 weekend a month. And I was a counselor there, so I was required to come in and spend a weekend a month. And I did that for several weekends, and no problem. There was a room for us, a nice bed. I slept really well over there, no problems. But this one weekend, I went to work, and after showering and everything, and I tried to go sleep, I couldn't. I felt uneasy, and every time I try and shut my eyes and stuff, there was some feeling like I see people having strings in their hands and ropes in their hands, and I'm like, what is that? And then when I finally dozed off, I did have a dream. I dreamt of a man being strangled from behind, have a cord around the neck, and being choked in the back like it's like somebody choking him. And so that woke me up. And when I had that vision in my dream, I popped out of the bed, and I'm alone inside the room, but I seen this man walking away from me, and there's dim light inside the room. And as I looked, and this man kind of like looked back at me and said, and kind of like tilted his head this way. I recognized this man. It was my grandfather, John Broad. Just like saying, hey, let's go. So realizing that my grandpa is waking me up and trying to draw my attention, I jumped out of bed, put on my clothes, put on my vest, and I grabbed a billy club that I carried when I went there. And I headed out of the room and I went straight down to this lockup unit. And when I got there, I opened up the keys. I didn't want to just barge in and stuff. I wanted to see what was happening. And when I peeked open, I unlocked the door softly and I peeked open. And I started looking at what was happening inside. I could see the one guard that was left inside. He was at a desk, the light was on, and he was reading, but his head was going down. He was falling asleep. And as he was falling asleep, I looked right across where this desk was, and there was a room, one of the boys' room. The door was wide open, and there were 4 kids at the door watching him. And in their hands, actually 2 of them had these strings, and to me it looked like cords. They had them in their hands. And right when I saw that, and it looked like they were ready to come out of the room, they were just about leaning forward, and I opened the door and I yelled, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" You should have seen them just like rats. Yeah, I think some of them peed in their pants because they slammed the door and they ran inside. They went and closed the door and stuff. And the guy that was supposed to be watching and falling asleep, he jumped out and he said, "What the hell?" And so I told him what I saw. And as soon as I told him, we got on the radio and called everybody in, and there was a total of 6 of us adults that was there, and all 6 of us came in, and we turned on the lights, and we took out everybody from that room, and we started with that room. And what we found is the kids had packed up some of their clothes, stuffed it inside the pillowcase. They had some food supply, and the strings that they had, eventually they broke down and told us that their plan was to come out of the room, choke the guy out, knock him out, take his keys, and open the door and make a beeline for the canyon. That was their plan. And fortunately, I came in at the right moment, and it stopped everything. Nobody got hurt. We didn't have to spend hours searching the property for these kids. But in this one incident, my grandpa came at the right time, woke me up at the right moment, and placed me in the right place so that I could avert this bad thing from happening. So anyway, so if we trust in our ancestors and we honor them and listen to them, I don't think my ancestors would help me if I didn't act on the things that they show me to do. And when they give me a warning, I normally listen. But this was a great lesson in being open to the ancestors. Anyway, I hope you folks enjoyed this story, and next week I'm going to be sharing some more. And I will not be posting anything for the Powerball because someone hit the Powerball up in the mainland. So the Powerball is back to 20 million and building up. So I won't be playing it until the jackpot goes over 100 million. Anyway, I hope you folks have a great week. And until next week, this is Dave Wallace from Waihawa, Hawaii, saying aloha.